It's been said that the Martin State VOR runway 15 is one of the more challenging instrument approaches in the United States. Martin State, airport code KMTN, is located in the Baltimore, Maryland area. This approach involves a DME arc to get to the runway, then followed by another DME arc to execute the missed approach. In this video, we'll try this approach using the bearing pointer method, which I detailed in my previous video. If you're unfamiliar with the bearing pointer method, the link to that video is in the description. I haven't flown this approach in real life, but let's give it a try on the sim. So right now the sim is paused, but we are set up to the northwest of the Baltimore VOR, 17.5 miles to the northwest. Let's do a quick approach brief. We'll skip all the stuff up top and go straight to the plan view. So from our current position, we'll fly towards the Baltimore VOR to the Slough intersection, which is the initial approach fix. From there, we'll pick up the DME arc, 14.7 mile arc, towards the next fix, which is Cumbie. During that leg, we'll maintain 14.7 DME, and we can drop down to 2,600 feet altitude. After Cumbie, which is defined by the 021 radial from Baltimore, we'll proceed to Govs, where we can start to descend to 1,800 feet. And Govs is defined by the 039 radial from Baltimore. After Govs, which is the final approach fix, we can go to Zovap, which is at the 047 radial, and we can descend down to 1,260 feet. And after Zovap, we can proceed down to the minimums of 920 feet. For this demonstration, we will go ahead and do the missed approach. The missed calls for a climbing right turn, 2,500, and intercept the Baltimore radial 068. And then we'll get into another DME arc at 11 DME. And then we'll proceed clockwise still to the Boast intersection, which is defined by the 11 DME arc and the radial 108. And we're going to do a left turn hold over that intersection. Okay, so let me just set my altitude bug. And I think we are ready. I'm going to go ahead and unpause. So we're about 17 miles away, and we're trying to do a 14.7 mile arc. So for this plane at the speed we're going, we need to start turning about 0.7 of a mile from the arc. So that puts it at 15.4. So 14.7 plus 0.7 is 15.4. Ground speed's almost 140. We're at 15.9 miles. 15.8. 15.6, 15.5, 15.3, and I'm now turning to the left until the bearing pointer sits horizontal and it's pointing to the right. And I'll go ahead and descend to 2,600 feet. Okay, we got the bearing pointer pointing perpendicular. Ended up a little close, 14.4, because I didn't do a good job of holding standard grade turn, but that's okay. We'll fly straight and level for a bit until we pick up 14.7. Over here, I'm going to use a heading bug to mark where the next waypoint is going to be, which is Cumbie. That's at the 021 radial. If you recall in the past video, I mentioned that the tail of the bearing pointer tells you what radial you are crossing. So, since we're using the heading bug as sort of a bookmarker, once that tail hits that heading bug, that tells us we have arrived at the Cumbie waypoint. Okay, right now we are crossing about the 350 radial. And I'm still trying to fly further to get the 14.7. There it is. We got the 14.7. So now I'm just going to try to maintain that bearing pointer horizontal. And since we are going to do the missed approach, I'm going to go ahead and set my course indicator for that missed, which is on the radial 068. So radial 068 means we need a course 248 to get to the VOR. Okay, now we're still at 14.7 miles. We just passed the 360 radial. Once this tail gets to the heading bug, then we can start to descend to 1,800. Okay, just about to cross the 010 radial from Baltimore. Kind of let it get away. We're at 14.8 miles, so I'm going to turn in a little bit, get that head of the bearing pointer on the upper half of the HSI. Okay, crossing the 015 radial, we're almost getting there. Distance kind of fluctuating between 14.6 to 14.8, which is fine. Just trying to maintain 14.7. Okay, we're about there. Radial 021, so I can start a descent to 1,800 feet because we have passed the Cumbie waypoint. And then I'm going to move the heading bug to the next waypoint, which is Govs on the 039 radial. I'm going to move the heading bug there. Oops, I'm getting a little close. 14.6, so I should just fly straight for a bit. Let the head here drop down to the lower half so we can get farther. Still 14.6 miles. We're passing the 035 radial. Getting pretty close. Back to 14.7, so I'm going to turn a bit to the right. Okay, looks like we've passed the 039 radial, so we can now start a descent to 1,260 feet. And that next waypoint, Zovap, is on the 047 radial. So I'm going to move my heading bug there. That's pretty close. And after Zovap, it's going to be our missed approach point on the 060 radial. Now that we've passed Zovap, we can proceed down to our minimums, which is 920 feet. Better watch my altitude and not get below minimums. 920. Around 065, should be 060. Looking outside, yeah, we're pretty much over the airport. So, yeah, we're approaching the missed approach point. So since I set this up as VFR, if we're actually going to land, we could have landed, but we are going to do the missed. So we gotta do a climbing right turn to 2,500 feet. And intercept the radial course 248, which I've already set. And once we're inbound on this radial, we need to do another arc, 11-mile arc this time to radial 108. And then we are going to do a hold on that intersection. So I'm going to go ahead and move my heading bug to 108. Okay, so since we're trying to do an 11-mile arc, so at a distance of 11.7, we're going to start our turn. So 11.8, pretty close, 11.7, starting our turn. The bearing pointer is now perpendicular, and we got it right at 11 miles. So now I just got to keep that bearing pointer horizontal until we get to the 108 radial. Now we are crossing the 080 radial, so we're not quite there yet. Okay, we know we finally hit 2,500 feet, so we're gonna just stay here. At 11 miles. Okay, now passing the 090, a little bit longer to go, then we'll get to the 108. So I did a much better job of keeping the distance this time, right at 11, and keeping this bearing pointer horizontal. Okay, crossing the 100 radial, almost there. Got out to 1.1, turn a little bit more, get that head above on the upper half. Okay, now the tail of the bearing pointer has passed the 108. That means we have crossed that intersection. So I'm going to go ahead and turn outbound on the hold. It's a direct entry hold. So I'm going to turn to the outbound heading, which is 108, which is what we already have bugged. Still turning. Because of the angle of this direct entry hold, I'm turning at half standard rate. Okay, we're at the outbound heading. I'm going to start the time. Remember the 5 T's, turn, time, twist. So I've started my time. Oops, no, this timer didn't start. There we go. Now it started. Now I'm going to twist my course, twisting the tail to where the heading bug is, and inbound course 288. It's pretty much, yeah, that's what the plate says. Since I started the timer late, I'm just going to turn in at 30 seconds. And we should pick up this radio. Okay, we are now flying inbound to the hold fix of Boast, and then now this is just a basic DME hold. So at 11 nautical miles, we start another left turn outbound. So anyway, that is the Martin State VOR runway 15 approach. Yeah, it is pretty challenging. A lot of stuff going on, but using the bearing pointer method, it reduces the amount of pilot workload. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you found it informative, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you in another video.